Have you ever used the gummy bear trick to stay focused? I know I have. So let me tell you what it is. What you do is when you are looking through a textbook or something that you're reading that you maybe are having trouble focusing on, you can stick a gummy bear on each paragraph. And as you read that paragraph, if you can focus in on what that has to say, you get rewarded with a gummy bear. Unfortunately, as much as I really, really wanted this to work, it totally didn't. I say that this gummy bear trick didn't work. I mean, it kind of did, I suppose. It worked for about 5 minutes because I was focusing on that reward more than I was focusing on the process and the content that I was reading. I was driven by these external, these outside in factors to make me want to focus rather than tapping into how I could want to focus from the inside out. Can you relate? Can you relate to this push to be focused, whether it's for yourself or in this case, we're talking today about pushing our children to focus. It can be so frustrating when we give them instructions and they don't seem to take any of that information in. It can be really irritating when they've been given a task for just 5 minutes and they can't seem to focus in on that long enough to even comprehend what this task is about, let alone do it. Have you been there? Have you been in that really overwhelming place where you're just trying to make your kids learn and they're not getting on board? Let's talk about whether it really is important for our children to be focused, what it looks like to train our children to focus, and my top 5 tips for ways that you can help grow the skill of focus and concentration for your child. I wonder if you know more than one of them already. I love starting with the question, why? Why is it important even for our children to be focused? And what are we really talking about when we say the word focus? So in this case, I am talking about the regular old run-of-the-mill type of focus and concentration that we give to the learning process. I'm not specifically going to be speaking about ADHD in this video. However, I'm totally open to that. If you would like me to do another follow-up video regarding focus when it comes to ADHD, then please drop me a comment. If even just one person wants it, I'm happy to make a video on that. Whether your child has been diagnosed with ADHD or not, focus is something that we all have in common as a homeschooling mom struggle, really, because this is something that our children are learning and growing in, and it really is our responsibility to teach them the skill of focus. That's right, I said it. Focus is not something that we are inherently right away from birth good at. It is something that we can develop and foster and get better at. You probably intrinsically already know why it's so important to foster this skill of focus and concentration for your child. I mean, how many of us want to be working on a specific task or a project for hours and hours and hours when it could be done in 20 minutes? When we are able to give our full undivided attention to a particular problem that we're solving or a task that we're doing or a project that we're working on, we are able to do that project much more effectively. We are able to really quiet our minds to zoom in on that one task that we're doing and eliminate all of the distractions around us. We don't need to think about what happened earlier that day. We don't need to think about what's coming up in the future. All we need to focus on is the right here and right now, learning really how to be present in the moment. So obviously this leads to higher productivity. This leads to more efficiency. This leads to greater satisfaction in our work because we feel as though we can do this well and quickly, and it doesn't need to be a long, drawn out, exhausting process. To stay focused on a particular task or even desire that we want to accomplish allows us to develop other skills too, such as perseverance. Isn't this wonderful? Isn't this great how we get to not only teach our children about the content, but we also get to teach them about the skills that we develop in order to reach our goals and the character traits in order to stay intrinsically motivated to do these things. I think my favorite reason, though, for teaching focus to our children is a super selfish reason, and you can probably relate. Isn't it nice when you only need to say something one time and your child listens? When they can actually focus in on what you're saying, they can process that information and then do what you asked. I mean, we all want to knock back the amount of times we ask our children to brush their teeth or clean up or come to the table for a meal. If our children have the ability to notice that we're talking to them, pay attention, focus on that for a moment, process the information, and then carry out the activity, that's a huge win. I'm sure you are convinced. I'm convinced. I've convinced myself here. This leads us to the all important, how can we do this? But before we get to that, I want you to think for a moment, if your child was in a TV watching competition. Yes, you heard me. They're in a TV watching competition. How long can they go? Would they win? Do they have the ability to stay focused on that show? If you have a first place child in this TV watching competition, then you know that your child has the ability to focus. If your child is not focusing when it comes to homeschool, but they are focusing when it comes to their favorite TV show, then maybe we don't have necessarily a focus problem. Maybe the issue really is about engagement. We have the ability to focus in on what we want to be doing and what we are interested in. So take a moment and notice if your child is able to focus on what they are really interested in, then they have this skill. And it's all about fostering the development of this into their learning. Along this thread here, I want you to think about how engaging your homeschool is for your child. Is your child focused on the TV show because there are cuts and changes every 10 seconds? And then when it comes to schoolwork, they're expected to stay still and look at a black and white piece of paper for 20 minutes? Or is your teaching style and the methods that you use just as engaging for them to stay focused? If we want our children to have more sustained focus, then we need to give them practice for that sustained focus in a very engaging and relevant and fun way. Now that we know that focus can come from an internal motivation, why it's so important for them to develop this skill for so many aspects in their life, and how we can start to train them in increasing their focus, I want to give my top 5 super simple, quick and easy tips. The first one is binaural beats. Let me know if you've ever heard of this before. If you are listening to these kinds of songs on your headphones, what these songs do is they will put through one frequency in one ear and another frequency in another ear. And within your brain, you create a third frequency set. And these songs can be so relaxing. They can help you focus. They can train your brain to start to think about resonating at these different wavelengths. You may have heard of alpha, beta, gamma wavelengths. So that is one thing that is still in research now that you may want to look into in order to allow your child to focus better. You could give your child headphones to listen to this kind of music for about 10 minutes before they start a task in their homeschool that needs a little bit more focused attention. My second tip is to have some sort of unfocused aspect when you want your child to focus in on what they're doing. So for example, if they are focusing in on a math speed drill, then maybe they want to be sitting on one of those large physio balls bouncing around at the same time. Maybe you want to give them a balance board to stand on while they are telling you their story that goes through the whole story structure process. Or maybe you want to look into those fidget toys, something that they can hold that will not be distracting to you or their siblings. My third tip is to make yourself more engaging. Yes, the way that we teach has a profound effect on the way our children learn. Have you ever gone through a drive-through? Say you're driving through the McDonald's drive-through, you give your order, what happens next? You know, the person on the other side repeats back to you exactly what your order is. So if you say to them, I would like a strawberry milkshake and small fries, please, they will say to you, all right, you are going to have a strawberry milkshake and small fries. Is that correct? And you would say, oh yeah, that's correct. And they would say, great, I'll see you at the next window. This technique is so valuable. It is a great way to make sure that communication is very clear. So you can actually apply this exactly how the McDonald's clerk does. If you say to your child, all right, I'd like you to start with your math and then to do your penmanship and then to move on to your reading. And I'm going to come back and check in on you in a few minutes. You look at your child and they go, mm-hmm. And that's where you say, honey, can you repeat back to me what you're about to do? And then they get to take that information that you just told them and they're forced to process it. Maybe they already thought about what you said and maybe not. So this way you make sure that they understand what you just said to them. They focused on those words. When they repeat back to you, they solidify that there's an expectation here now that you both are on the same page and there's going to be no surprises when you come back. So clear communication is a key here to helping your child stay more focused, but also an engagement factor really needs to include fun. So make sure that you are teaching how you want to be teaching so that the best of you comes forth and that your child is learning in the way that they want to be learning so that they naturally have that intrinsic drive and motivation to complete their tasks. My fourth tip is to do a review on the diet and the sleep habits for your child. If your child is constantly having a really hard time focusing, it could be due to nutritional deficiencies. Maybe they are low in a certain vitamin that will really help these processes in their brain. Maybe they are allergic to a certain kind of food that wreaks havoc in their body and it makes it harder for them to have clear thinking. Also, if your child did not sleep very well the night before, you can probably guess that just like for us as adults, it's much more difficult to concentrate the next day. And my fifth tip is to look at this from the emotional perspective. If there are fears, if there are traumas, if there are really exciting events going on, these kinds of things can be really distracting when your mind is thinking about what it deems as very important when you want your child to do what you deem is very important. One of the ways that you can help your child be more grounded in this kind of moment is to stop, and you could even do this with them. Take a moment, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and then take in the moment using your five senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you taste? What do you smell? What do you feel? Take a moment and recognize how you are physically responding to the environment, and then that will help settle everything down and give you a new, fresh start to focus in on that task again. I am sure that these 5 tips and some of these strategies, even that we talked about without the tips, are going to really help your child have a boost in their concentration and at the same time help decrease your overwhelm with how you teach your child how to learn. If you are looking for more information about how to teach your child in your homeschool, I am here for you. I have a new video every week. I would love to see you subscribe to that so that I can catch you again next time. And if you are looking for more resources, I have so much on my website, homeschoolteachingsimplified.com, and I would love to connect with you over there. All right, well, I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay focused, and I'll see you next time.